Welcome to episode 141 of the Actual Astronomy Podcast. I'm Chris, and joining me is Shane. We are amateur astronomers who love looking up at the night sky, and this podcast is for anyone else who loves going out under the stars. How was your week, Shane?
Oh, it was pretty good. How about yours, Chris?
Yeah, it was excellent. I actually ended up doing some observing last night. Not sure if you were able to get out this week at all, though.
No, I didn't. As I was mentioning to you, last night was like a really nice night out, but we had some company over visiting, and that took me away from the telescope. But I was hoping that you were able to get out, because I know you're out at your site, and wasn't sure if you had a telescope or not, or if you what kind of okay. So did you get out and see some stuff?
Yeah, so I was kind of telling you sort of the preamble to this that on Friday night when I was kind of making up the notes, it had cleared out just a little bit. I was kind of thinking, what are the chances it would totally clear off? And then yesterday it seemed like it was gradually clearing throughout the day, and by evening, it was pretty much clear. And kind of as we were making dinner, I texted Mike and said, "Hey, like, what do you think?" And he said, "Yeah, it looks pretty good." And kind of asked if I was going out. I said, "I'm already out." So he ended up driving out pretty late. Actually, he got out here about just about an hour after darkness, because we didn't really have much of a plan. We had no plan. And so anyway, we set up, and we observed until about 1 a.m.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So what did you look at?
We looked at everything. I mean, we've had such terrible smoky ashtray skies here for the past 3 weeks, really. And so we end up, spending a lot of time looking at, just like the summer favorites, like the Lagoon, the Trifid, the star clouds and Sagittarius and Scutum, and, like the M17 Omega or Swan Nebula, the Eagle Nebula, Bronchus Cluster, the Coat Hanger. I put a broadband filter in, looked at some of those that are nebulas, and then took a long look at the North American Nebula, because it's pretty much right overhead.
Yeah. Up in Cygnus?
Just off of Deneb. And boy, I think I had one of my best views ever of it, actually, last night.
Wow. So were you using your new broadband filter?
No. Okay. I don't even know which one I was using. I have a lot of 2-inch filters, and I'd thrown just a couple in a bag, and I grabbed the one that was that I figured was the broadest band. Yeah. And so I just put that in. I think it's an older one. I know it's an older one. It's a really old. It's like a UHC, but it's even broader than a UHC is. So it's really a broadband filter.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you could really see the outline of that North American feature, especially like that Mexico area, just looked like a bunch of clouds up there in Cygnus through the 60 millimeter. Yeah, pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's a really cool nebula to look at, but it can be a little challenging because it's certainly not bright, but it's huge, and it has a really interesting shape to it. But to be honest, I don't think I've really ever tried to look at it much outside of like really dark sites like Grasslands National Park.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's well visible. I mean, you can see it in binoculars from any kind of decent dark site. From down there, I mean, you can see it with your naked eye. It's right up overhead though right now, and I don't know, I didn't bring a chair out with me or anything like that, because we're going down to Grassland soon, and I didn't want to lug too much stuff out here. I didn't want to lie down in the cactus to take a look, so I just headed in the telescope. But, it was a pretty good view. Yeah, really good.
Oh, that's awesome. How did the planets look last night?
Yeah. Mike put Jupiter in his. Do you know which is his the FS 78, or is it another version? I feel like it's not an FS 78.
I thought it was like the FC or something like that. I don't know.
It must be, yeah, it must be, because my 60. I've looked through several of the FS, and I own the 60 FS, and the FCs I think are my 100 is a DC, Yeah, so it must be the FC. That's a beautiful, beautiful telescope. So we actually spent a lot of time looking through it.
Oh,
He's got it on a whole different setup. He bought one of the M2C LDAS mounts from Stellar View and the custom wood tripod and pure that goes with it.
mm-hmm.
And it looks it looks so beautiful. It's such a beautiful looking setup.
Yeah, I'm wrong. I think it is the FS. The FCs are the latest models.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right, yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure. It might even be older than an FS, but maybe it is an FS. But that is a killer telescope. Yeah, we could see like quite a lot of detail, like in the bands of Jupiter,
Hmm.
uh, like in the equatorial zone. We could see like some barges, and we could see just some of the really fine detail there. We were using just like 112 power in it, but man, it was really, really good. Had a long look at Saturn as well. Could see the Cassini division running around it. You could see like I think it's in the northern zone. It was kind of like a bit of an orangey band up there. Yeah, it was pretty wild. Yeah, really nice, really nice.
Hmm. Well, it's great to hear finally, that we're getting some observing in around here. And man, I really wished I was free last night to take a telescope out. That would have been great.
Yeah, I think it was like one of those nights. It's we're still just getting out of the period where we go from being at full moon to actually having a couple hours of dark skies. And I
Hmm.
think it's a little bit off like virtually everybody's radar that this happens every spring, because I know the observing committee for the RASC that I sit on, they wanted to have a meeting last night, and they were sending out the reminder, and I was like, folks, I think everybody's forgetting two things. This is a long weekend, and we have 2 hours of darkness that the moon doesn't rise in our neck of the woods in Canada right now until 12:30. It's pretty much dark enough to observe at about 10:30. So you got like 2 hours of darkness here to observe, and we're going to have a meeting. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, really.
So yeah. Anyway.
So are you? I assume you're staying out there tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, stay out here tonight. Got a little bit of cloud bands that are passing through, and I'm pretty tired though. Like it was a long session, and we were milking it for everything it was worth, because I wasn't sure if the smoke would move back in, and I wouldn't see the stars again for a month or what. So we were really going from one object to the next, and spent a lot of time looking at like the double cluster, and Mike had M31 in for probably the better part of 20 minutes or so, and tried a whole pile of different magnifications. But that telescope he's got set up it's really, really cool the way he's kind of configured it, because with the tacks you can configure them. They're pretty customizable. So he ended up getting one of the TOA 1.7 extensions.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Did you know that? Did you know he bought? I didn't know he bought one of those.
No, I didn't know he had one. I was aware, of that, I guess, option, but that's awesome that he has it.
Yeah, and he also bought, I should have looked it up, but he bought one of the Bader diagonals. It's the one with the white housing on it. I forget what one that is, but anyway.
It's a 2-inch, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just their regular mirror. I'll just look it up here. Keep going.
Yeah, well, boy, I'll tell you, their regular mirror and that TOA extender in a little tack 78 millimeter is an amazing combination. Like, he had Jupiter in there, and I'm bringing my eye up to it, and at first I think there is a street light here that's about maybe a mile away, maybe a kilometer away, somewhere between a mile and a kilometer away.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought he must have had the street light in there at first, because it was so, like, I'm bringing my eye up and I'm like, this is really bright. Like, there's no way this is Jupiter. And I just couldn't believe how bright images were through the scope. And I don't know why, but that telescope seems like, even lower power seemed like, for some reason, like higher magnification. So he had 50 power in, and I said, oh, like when we were looking at Jupiter and you could see the bands and, like really clearly in a lot of detail. And I said, "Oh, what power is that?" And he said, "Oh, it's just like 50 powers." And I said, "Are you sure?" Like, to me, I thought it was more like 75 or 80 power. Like, it definitely, images are extremely, extremely bright and very sharp through the scope, the way he has it set up with that diagonal and that TOA extender. I got to say, I'm definitely buying one of those diagonals now. I think they're pretty expensive as far as like, the lower range, any kind of product. I think that's got to be one of the best diagonals out there. I think they're still pretty expensive just to get into the Baader diagonals, but I love the look of it. I like the white. Like, as soon as you put it in, I'm like, that's one of those Baader diagonals I've had my eye on. So there's much of a difference with a diagonal, but man, that one really performs. And I don't know whether it's a nice combination with that telescope, I don't know. That image last night really, really blew me away.
Yeah, and maybe just to clarify for everybody listening, the telescope that Mike has is a Takahashi TS70 or FS78, and I think maybe it might be a version before that even, but it's similar to my current 76 DCU. It's one of the TAC models that predates this one. Yeah. And I would love to actually observe with mine and Mike's side by side. I doubt there'd be any difference, but it'd be kind of neat to just see the different generations, observing the same objects.
Yeah, and I'd like to go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, running my 60 against it, definitely gives just a huge jump in resolution on the 60. And yeah, it also seemed like much clearer. So I don't know whether that was the diagonal or the extender or what, because I was just running mine in f5.9. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say the white Baader 2-inch diagonal is 265 euros. So that's not too bad. That BBSH or HS 2-inch is 450 euros. So they have a couple different models of 2-inch diagonals. Yeah. And both of them have the click lock that you and I really like a lot. And when it comes to diagonals and a few other things from Baader, they really make some good stuff there.
Yeah, he was actually the only complaint he has in his system now is how the diagonal goes into, I think it goes into the extender. Anyway, just how that arrangement is. So I was showing him how I have the click lock on my TAC there. And so I think he's gonna pick up one of those. I think they're just like $60 or something like that. And because he was struggling a bit with things kind of rotating around. You kind of had to watch the set screws. But with the Baader click lock, you just kind of turn it and forget it. It's all good.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good system.
Yeah. So we looked at M31 and the satellite galaxies. What else did we look at? Holy cow! Like, we looked at a lot of stuff. Double cluster, Stock 2. Looked at Bronchi's cluster. Looked at M4. Looked at M22 for a while. The globular cluster there in Sagittarius. Mike hunted up M51 towards the end of the session. You could see pretty clearly, like at 50 power, like the satellite galaxy. I think it's 5195 or something like that. I shouldn't say satellite. It's just like a nearby background galaxy. They were attached, but anyway, saw that. And I kind of went my telescope over just to the general area of M81 and M82, thinking I'll try to go and look at them, and pretty much had them centered. And that was just at 12 power, and you could see them quite clearly at just 12 power in the 60 millimeter. So I kind of feel like that's a pretty good night, and pretty decently dark sight when you can see those two galaxies, that easily. So yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And pretty cool that you had two different apertures going there with the refractors. I always enjoy comparing the views through different apertures as well, and just certain objects look better with the wider fields, and certain objects will look better with the bigger aperture, and it's just kind of fun to go back and forth like that.
Yeah, definitely. There are some things where the 60 really provides like a cool wide field view. Like I put the water jar of Aquarius in there. I can fit that very easily in the field. And so we had just to look at that. It's just an asterism, but you could see the whole thing, in your telescopic field at the same time. You're not squeezing it in. It's right in the center. So it's kind of a neat observation to make. And then the star clouds, like I said, looked at like the Scutum star cloud with M11, looked at the Sagittarius star cloud, and I looked at some of the dark nebulas up in Aquila. Might put Barnard Z in there, so we had a look at that. Looked at the big nebulosity around Gamma Cygni. That one was a little tough. There's still like a little bit of smoke around. Probably if that smoke hadn't been there, would have been a better view. But just like the star clouds up into Cygnus were pretty good. Up in top of Ophiuchus there. And
maybe let's move on to our upcoming trip here. So we are going to Grasslands National Park West Block this coming weekend. I think I'm going to show up on Friday and probably do 2 nights there. And I think I'm going to bring my Teleview Genesis SDF. It's a 101 millimeter f5.4 or something like that. And then just my regular eyepieces. I'm going to bring my wide field stuff, but also some of my kind of simpler glass, like orthos and that sort of stuff. And I think I'll probably bring my little Borg as well, just for some super rich fields, and maybe a solar telescope. I'm not too sure. I haven't really thought too much about the daytime, but usually I throw in a solar telescope, so there's a little something to do during the day.
Yep.
And then the other usual things like the mount, the chair, my observing table, a few little things like that. But what about you? What's that?
How about binoculars? You gonna take any binoculars with you?
Yeah, I always bring my 12 by 36 Canons. One of the great things too is just using them during the daytime to sometimes check out some of the wildlife or the just the scenery around the park is quite nice to look at. So yeah, for sure, I'll bring my binos, and that's probably about it though. How about you? What are you planning to bring?
I think I'm gonna bring my 80 millimeter f5 for a couple different reasons. I'm going to give some presentations, and then there's going to be some observing. I think Mike's going to bring 1 or 2 scopes, and if you're bringing that, then I'm actually planning to steal some views from you guys. I hope that's okay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I'd wanted to take the little 80 millimeter f5 down there for a long time and kind of get some of those wide field views in. And I just haven't bothered to do it yet in the sort of 2 years that I've had it. So yeah, that's kind of my plan there. And take a pair of binoculars and my observing chairs and be able to just recline and just do some observing. It was really fun last night, and I think that if these guys stay the same or keep improving, then I think we'll have some good sessions.
Yeah. Well, the smoke will probably be present. Hopefully, it's not too bad overhead, though. We may lose a little bit of the horizons because I really don't think the smoke is going to clear out by that point in time, and going in that direction from where we are right now, we're kind of going more towards the sources of the smoke, so it might even be a little worse there, but you never know, right, until you get there. And sometimes all it takes is a little bit of a rain shower to clean the air, to take the smoke out of it, and then you can have a really good session. So you just never really know.
And they are supposed to have some rain just to the west of there, I think tonight or tomorrow, or tonight and tomorrow, like quite a bit. So then by the time we're in that area, it could be one of the better spots, and hopefully the skies improve, not only for us to do astronomy, but for those that are living closer to those fires.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Um, part of me was even thinking I might leave Thursday, just kind of keep an eye on the forecast. And, if Thursday, Friday are looking like the better nights, I might end up doing that. I'm not sure. I'll just
Yeah.
be flexible is kind of my plan.
Yeah, no, yeah, that would be something to keep in mind for sure.
Yeah. Is there
Yeah.
any lists or objects you're wanting to check out while we're down there?
I don't know. I'm kind of struggling with it just because of the conditions,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I'll take a look and see. I've got like a few projects on the go, and I'm bringing the 80 millimeter down. So I'm gonna look and see. What I might do is just kind of revisit some objects that are best seen in as wide a field as you can get. I figure that's where the 80 millimeter excels. So yeah, I've been enjoying looking at the star clouds. I might just kind of spend a lot of time looking at the star clouds. Maybe I'll take a look at, I don't know if you've ever looked at IC 1396 there, where the Elephant Trunk Nebula is.
I don't think so. It's not standing out.
Yeah, up in Cephus, it's around Herschel's Garnet Star in
Mm.
that general vicinity, sort of in the area between Cephus and I guess Lacerda, or maybe part of Cygnus. That's a pretty neat spot. So I thought maybe I'll kind of take a cruise through there, take a look at some of the bigger objects. There's the Heart and Soul over by I guess it's on the Perseus Cassiopeia border, I think. And in that general area. So that's kind of my plan if it's actually looking like it's going to be clear. But if the skies are compromised, then we're just going to be showing murky planet views anyway, and going to bed early. So like you said, trying to be a little bit flexible in my plan.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the best thing to do when conditions are not guaranteed to be, as good as we're used to when we go down there. So hopefully, no matter what, the planets will be observable even with a little bit of smoke in the air. I think they will be.
Yep.
And then typically, even when the smoke has been here, straight overhead, you're looking through a little bit less atmosphere. So sometimes it's a little bit better right overhead, and you get a somewhat compromised sky or narrower sky, so to speak. But
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be able to get some observing in no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds good. Yeah, I got a bit of a book report here too, if you're interested.
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
So I'd actually bought this book. It's called. It's an old book, no longer in print. Deep Sky Observing with Small Telescopes by David J. Eicher and the editors of Deep Sky. So Deep Sky used to be an old observing astronomy magazine predating Astronomy Magazine. I don't know if you've ever seen any copies of that.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so it was around in the 80s. I can't remember when. It predates my time in astronomy, but I went and have picked up a pile of them used. There used to be this great used bookstore near my workplace when I lived in Ontario, and they had stacks of them, and I went and pretty much bought them all. Anyway, they had put out this book on deep sky observing with small telescopes, and the focus is essentially instruments between 2 inches and 6 inches in aperture. And I forget how many objects. I feel like there's like 1,000 objects in here or something. But the book is a little bit different insofar as they broke up the deep sky objects. They broke up the deep sky objects by object type. So you have like a chapter on globular clusters and a chapter on open clusters and a chapter on planetary nebula and a chapter on galaxies and that kind of stuff. And then each chapter kind of has a bit of an introduction about that type of object, some general information, and then like really a good section on how to observe that type of object, and then followed by a pretty lengthy list highlighting the best objects and dozens or sometimes I think a couple hundred of these type of objects that are suitable for small instruments. It's very comprehensive and well written.
Well, that sounds pretty cool. And this is I think this is another book that is out of print now. Am I correct? Yeah.
So it's out of print, but I think they printed lots of copies
Yeah.
because it was really inexpensive. I feel like maybe it was $5 American or something.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's not too bad at all.
And I'd actually ordered it, and I can't remember if I ordered it and then mentioned it on the podcast, or whether I just happened to have it in transit, and then one of our listeners actually said, "Hey, you should get this book and read it." I'm like, "Yeah, it's coming tomorrow or something," or I'd read the first chapter by that point. It's a little bit dated because I think the book is about 30 odd years old. I think it's from 87 or something, and it looks like it was written on a typewriter. So there's some pretty like obvious spelling errors and that sort of thing. And the font looks like it's like Times New Roman from a typewriter. But it's got pretty good astro images from the day, and it's got a lot of really great sketches.
Okay.
So makes it a good read. And so between the observations and the sketches and breaking things down by object type and talking about how to observe these specific objects, combined with truly like excellent writing, I think the writing in it is very, very good. You just kind of have to be forgiving of the fact that I think the book predates really using computers the way that we do now to write books and catch missing words or obvious spelling errors and that sort of thing. But other than that, it's an excellent book.
Okay. Well, I'm intrigued. I think I'm going to try to track down a copy for myself.
Yeah, or you can borrow mine.
Oh,
if
perfect.
You don't want $5.
Sounds good, Chris. Well, I think we should probably wrap things up. We're getting close to our limit here. So do you have anything else to add, sir?
I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris, and thanks everybody for listening. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show. If you are interested in more information, would like to contact us, or if you would like to support the podcast, check out our website, actualastronomy.com.